mine, she's a Unity person, so it kind of surprised me. She sent me an email yesterday. I was all prepared for today, you know. She sent me this email, and she was so upset about what happened in Paris. Not that we shouldn't be, but she was just frazzled, and she said, I've got to know what you're going to tell your people. I've got to know what you're going to talk about. We've got to do something. You know, what are you going to talk about? You know, and I read the email, and it sort of put me into a dither the rest of the day, and I thought, well, what am I going to say? You know, I can't make this okay. You know, I can't say something that's going to make it all okay. And so finally, before I went to bed at night, I sent her an email back. I had to have some time to sort of send her in. And I made a list of 8 things. Now, this is not something profound. Don't expect something profound, please. There are a lot of profound things on the internet right now. Amber wrote a very profound blurb on Facebook. I have a friend, a sister-in-law in Minnesota that wrote something very profound on Facebook. I have a friend in Tulsa that wrote something very... This is not profound. This is just what I had to tell her to be able to go to sleep at night. But it's very practical. You know me, I'm pretty practical. The first thing I said, number 1, I don't know how to fix the larger picture. I don't know how to fix that, except my part of what I add to the mass consciousness. That's really the only thing any of us can do. What is my part that is adding to these attack thoughts in mass consciousness? Number 2, I try to stay out of the energy of fear and hate and anger. That only adds to it. That feeds it. So I try to stay out of there, not give it any energy that way. And 3 is I try to center in the spirit of love, peace, harmony. Just the opposite of what's going on. Stay centered in the divine ideas of peace, love, and harmony. Number 4, I pray for the people in Paris. Both the people in Paris and the terrorists. I pray for them too, and the world. I send prayer energy out. Number 5, I hold on to my principles and the truth that I believe in. I practice my spiritual discipline and hold on to that. Number 6, I trust the flow of the awakening process on the planet. The awakening process doesn't always look pretty. All the yuck has to come up sometimes in order for it to be flushed out. Number 7, I'm so proud of all the comments I've seen on Facebook. All the people that are putting the French flags in front of their face, and everybody's coming together. It's like they're screaming, we are one. We are one with each other. Mass consciousness is screaming it right now. I'm so proud of that. And finally, the last thing I said was, I trust God, period. And that's what I center. We're standing on the border of 2 worlds. We're standing on the border of our spiritual world. We come here on Sunday mornings and we get all hyped up with these spiritual truths, and we want to live in these spiritual truths. And then we go out into the world that we live in. And we're standing on the border of both worlds. And it's like we're going this way and that way. How do we deal with those contrasts? Especially with the holidays coming, all the spiritual messages that are going to be coming out now in the next few weeks. The Thanksgiving message of, gratitude, and the Advent messages. Love, peace, joy. How do we handle those contrasts between the spiritual world of Christ, and then there's the other world of both Frosty the Snowman and terrorists? We stand on the border of both worlds. And the Course in Miracles reminds us that the world is a teaching device to bring us home. It's just a teaching device. That's all this world is good for. So what's it trying to teach us right now? What's it trying to teach us? Well, again, I can't fix that. But we can all awaken and heal our own terrorist attacks, our own thoughts, terrorist attack thoughts. Any thought of fear, judgment, hate, separation, we can only heal our own. How many have been in judgment, anger, or fear this week? Anybody? Come on. Come on. That's the only thing we can heal is our own terrorist attacks. And every attack thought requires a correction. Every attack thought, we have fear, hate, Judgment. Correction. What did they say on the GPS? What they used to say, recalibrate. That's kind of what we have to do. Recalibrate, forgiveness, change perception, stop fear, separation, know my oneness, get back into love, recalibrate. That's all we can do. And so the message coming up of the holiday messages, and then we've got the news over here, and they have the same answer. There is only one answer. Recalibrate, back to love. It's not, the holidays coming up are not so much to celebrate the birth of the human being, Jesus, but the message he brought of love and peace and harmony. And that's why I'm a Christmas fanatic. I go absolutely nuts over Christmas. My friend who emailed me, she's my best friend, and we're totally opposites, but she's my best friend. She gets really tired of Christmas. She went in the bank the other day, and they were actually playing Christmas music already, which me, I got right into, but it drove her nuts. So she goes up to the teller, and she says to her, how's it going with all those Christmas songs? You getting tired of them yet? Teller puts down her pen, looks at my friend, and said, I can't tell you how many times I've had to listen to Frosty the Snowman, both Burl Ives and Wayne Newton. And she rolled her eyes. How do we contrast? The messages of the holidays are so inspiring. Thanksgiving, gratitude, hope, love, faith. But we have to balance that with the world that we live in. We have Christ, and we have red Starbucks cups. Boy, that sure put that into perspective, didn't it, this week? And then we have terrorists. How do we live with all that? Well, the holiday stories, if you read the Christmas story, the two worlds were in the Christmas story. The literal world, the worldly concerns of the literal world, along with the deeper message of the spiritual power of the Christ. It is so obvious when you start reading the Christmas story, because before the birth of Christ, it's not Christmas yet, so I'm not going to talk about Christmas yet, but before Christ's birth, the government got involved. Now, I'm not talking politics. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. We're not into separation here. You know what happens when the government gets involved, and that was part of the Christmas story. You know, who said the only thing you can rely on is taxes? And in order to have taxes, you have to have a census, right? And so the Christmas story starts with this government issue of a census. That's a very major beginning to the Christmas story. In those days, a decree went out from the Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. All went to their towns to be registered. Joseph went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the house of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the family of David. And he went to register with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. It's all about taxes. Why is that in the Christmas story? Because the world is a teaching device to bring us home. And we stand on the border of the two worlds. The Christmas story has the higher spiritual world of stars and angels and prophecies. And it's got the denser, more physical world, shepherds, sheep, mangers. And then we've got even a denser world, government, taxes, terrorists. And in those denser worlds, the Caesar Augustus state of mind, remember every person, place, or thing in these stories, are an aspect of our consciousness. And we all have a Caesar's Augustus state of mind. And that's the state of mind that comes from our willful ego, that wants to control, manipulate, force, and fix that out there our way, right? We all come from that. We judge it, we fight it, we rage against it. Anybody been there this week? Yes. No. How's that working for you, by the way? That state of mind comes from intellectual reasoning from the world of outer senses that we see and think is real. If you can see it, hear it, taste it, it must be real. If it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, acts like a duck, it must be a duck, right? Terrorists are out there. We need to stand in fear and hate and separation. That must be real. All of it must be real. But we can't rely on our senses. We can't rely on what we see. I had my own terrorist attack this week. You know, ministers have terrorist attack in the middle of the night. You ask any minister in the country, and they remember when you were back doing this. So I wake up at 3 in the morning, and I'm having a terrorist attack. And they go like this for ministers. Oh my God, how am I going to keep this church going with what little money comes in? And how am I going to keep this all going with all we have to do with, you know, wonderful volunteers, but a few of them? And how am I going to know what to do? All these decisions that I don't have the wisdom of Solomon. God, why did you pick me for this job? That's what I do at 3 in the morning sometimes. And usually I get up, because I know I can't stay in that. I get up, go read a book, pray, whatever I have to do. Eat, you know, whatever it takes. Yeah, I know. That morning, absolutely nothing helped. I looked at the Course in Miracles, couldn't even read it. Tried to pray, couldn't get there. Reading didn't help, even eating didn't help, nothing helped. And I kept going back before Michael has to put up with me. I go back and forth from bed to the recliner out in the living room. Well, I finally made it to the recliner in the living room and I fell asleep. Finally fell asleep. And I had a dream in the recliner in the living room. Now, my dream wasn't going too well either. With that state of mind going to bed, do you think the dream went well? I was filling my car up with gas, and then all of a sudden, I was somewhere else, and I didn't know where I'd left the car. So did I leave the car by the gas tank, pumping gas? And did I leave it in the parking lot? Where is my car? And I didn't know where I was, and I was trying to find my way, trying to look for Michael. I wanted to get back to Michael and home so he could help me find the car, and I just wanted to get home and suck my thumb. You know? I was walking on a road, and there were cars whizzing by and people all around. All of a sudden, I had a realization in my dream. And it wasn't just an intellectual knowing. It was a deep realization that none of that was real. None of it. And it was really funny. I don't have a singing voice, but I started singing in my dream. It's not real, it's not real, it's not real. And I was dancing and singing, it's not real, it's not real. And I knew it. I knew that none of it was real. And then I woke up in the recliner in the living room. And guess what? I knew my anxiety wasn't real either. And I knew that none of this stuff I worry about is real. Real simply means it's not eternal lasting. It's just a dream we're dreaming. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. We take comfort this holiday season with the holiday messages and a little bit of unity and Course in Miracles thrown in. I did finally go to my Course in Miracle lessons. It said it's impossible to see two worlds, to live in two worlds. Jesus said you can't serve two masters. You have to choose which world you're going to be a part of. The world of fear or the world of love. You have to choose. Our mind wants to go back and forth. Beyond this world is a world I want. Don't you want that world that's higher, loving, harmonious, peaceful? And then I read the affirmation, my mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Now, God doesn't think anxiety. God doesn't think attack thoughts. God doesn't have a thought of judgment or hate or attack or fear. Would you repeat with me if you're comfortable? My mind holds only what I think with God. Together. My mind holds only what I think with God. One more time. My mind holds only what I think with God. We live on the border of two worlds, two states of mind, and we choose whatever state of mind we want to be in every moment. The world of the five senses with intellectual reasoning. This is if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's a duck. Or we can choose the inner world of spirit, the kingdom of God consciousness, where only love is real. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Jesus said of Caesar's world, be in this world but not of it. Yeah, we got to be here. We're here for a reason. It's a teaching device and we're learning. We're getting stronger. We're getting stronger by practicing what we believe. That's how we get stronger, by living in that truth. But my human needs, my human self has to take care of business. I certainly need to be fed. I've got to balance my checkbook. I've got to pay taxes. Jesus said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God. I don't know about you, but my human self needs lots of rendering. But my spiritual self has food that you do not know of, knows God as source and substance, and demonstrates that nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Will you say that with me? Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. And I have to humor my human self. I got to humor it. I've got to take care of its needs, deal with its emotions until it's spiritualized enough to see the other world. Now you've heard of chick flicks, right? Y'all like chick flicks? Well, there are chick books, and most of you have read it. You've all read the book Eat, Pray, and Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Was that not a chick book? She had a neat paragraph in there that I saved. It was a Sanskrit word, and I don't know if I pronounce it right. It's called antivasan, and it describes a person who lives at the border. In ancient times, this was a literal description of a person who had left the bustling center of the worldly life to go live at the edge of the forest where the spiritual masters dwelled. That person was called an antivasan. This antivasan was not one of the villagers anymore, not a householder with the conventional life, but neither was he yet transcendent, not one of those sages who live deep in the woods, fully realized. The antivasan was an in-betweener. He was a border dweller. He lived in sight of both worlds, but he looked toward the unknown. He stood in truth and looked toward the unseen of love, oneness, peace, harmony. Our world appears to be broken, but we stand on the border and we choose to look at the higher world until the whole world awakens to the truth of our being. Let us take that into prayer. God, I choose to stand at the border. I stand in my truth. I stand in love for all people, not leaving anyone out. I stand in the truth and love of God's presence. And I trust the flow. I trust the process of this teaching device that we're in. I trust the flow of life and the awakening process upon the planet. It may not look pretty, but I trust the flow of love's presence. And I just rest in that throughout the day, releasing all attack thoughts. I no longer choose to attack in my mind, but stay in the presence of love. And once again, we say thank you, Father, Mother, God, in the nature of the Christ. Amen.